anything at all about the play or any of the subjects that we're talking about? Yes.
You can, so everyone can hear you.
Yeah, exactly. What is
Yeah, no, you got it.
yeah? What is orgasmic meditation?
Yes.
So orgasmic meditation is something that was created. It's kind of the female version of tantra, meaning that there is a tantric practice where it's kind of like bringing a man to the point close to orgasm. It was kind of referenced in the play, also called edging. It's kind of popular with the kids nowadays. But in any case, orgasmic meditation is actually a practice that was created by a few people that I know. And it's kind of the female version of that. It's where you bring the female to like the point of almost going over an orgasm and getting to know that moment. The idea is that like most meditations, you actually want to get to know that moment where you're most in your body and least in your head. And that point, for most people, is actually kind of near the point of orgasm. And for females, there's this tremendous capacity to kind of stay there. A lot of women do have trouble going over sometimes. And so it's a meditative practice to actually get to know that area, and in turn, find where you're most in your body, most comfortable in your body, least in your mind, and kind of call that up. It's a very specialized practice. Not everyone does it, but that's a good question. You want to expand on that? I don't think you've done it, right?
No.
Okay. But anything about that? The idea?
Oh, I mean, it sounds lovely. I'm very curious about attending a workshop on that. So if anyone knows of one, let me know.
Or we could create one. We're thinking about creating workshops as a part of this too. So, yeah. Any other questions? Or anything about the play? Okay. Well, we can also just kind of talk a little bit about. Do you want to give a little bit about your background in kind of sexual education workshops and things like that?
Sure. Yes. Hi, I'm Shannon Wong. I play Cyrene in Soulmate. And yes, I have a little bit of background with education on tantric workshops and intimacy workshops. In fact, even as a cast, we did a intimacy workshop to bring our cast together in order for us to kind of like get to know each other and really build a trust and bond.
Actually, I want to expand on that a little bit because something that we really like to embody in kind of like the way that we live our lives. We're like best friends, really. so we talk about this kind of stuff a lot, live it a little bit. But intimacy, even though we think about it in the terms of kind of like sexual intimacy, right? Like being very close to people, it actually it's a practice that, not even a practice, but it's a concept that we share in many other aspects of our lives, meaning that, to be intimate with someone is to be present with them, to be very honest with them. And we feel that something like an intimacy workshop or, being able to practice that, it can overcome a lot of the fears that we have about being close to others, about being trusting with others. And in fact, these kind of workshops, like, it can establish the kind of trust and connection in a working environment. I mean, really, for this cast in this play, this is a clinical working environment. I mean, even though you see like a sexual intimacy on stage here, I mean, we are acting, of course, but to achieve that and achieve anything, I think in business, in family, it all has to do with trust. Trust loops back to honesty, being present, being authentic. If you feel like you're afraid, you have something to hide, then that can cloud the connection you have with others, and in fact, lead to less intimacy and lead to other issues. And so, yeah, that's my expansion on that. Anything else?
Yeah, so to talk a little bit about our intimacy workshop, it was really just our cast and breathing together, like meditation, and eye gazing, just like looking into each other's eyes. This is one of the most important things when it comes to intimacy, is to look into your partner's eyes, and you can really see them. You can really see what they're feeling. And I think this is really something that's so important and not talked about, because it kind of helps you with consent as well. Like, a lot of women say yes to something, but they actually mean no. And if you're not looking in their eyes, you wouldn't really be able to tell. So that's what I have to share about that.
Hey, so we got some of the cast, some other cast coming out.
Yeah. Hey.
Sure, or,
Sure.
yeah.
So
So just to quickly introduce everybody, this is Sunn'e Ra.
Hello.
Yeah, and to let you know too, Sunn'e, myself, and Shannon are all, we all live in LA. We created this play in LA, and we all brought it here in New York, and joined up with our cohort here, and including Jacksyn Ivy Jayne,
Hello.
and who lives in New York now, goes to
Yeah.
school, and then Jaque Jeanne, who is one of our, it's funny, we all have actually a deep history individually, even though like we're three, like Jacksyn and I did a bunch of plays over the summer together, and Jackie and Shannon actually went to high school together, right? But anyway, we were just touching on a few things. We covered what orgasmic meditation was, which I haven't even explained to you. And then also just about intimacy and what that leads to in the context of like trust, and even in business and the working environment like we have here. And then how intimacy can inform things like consent through that connection. And so, yeah, very much. Any other questions coming up for everyone? Anyone? Yeah. Hold on. I'm gonna go back there once first.
I have one.
Oh, good.
Oh.
Good.
Oh.
Thanks, Nelson.
Hello? No? Yes? Okay. You mentioned that aspects of your life and Shannon's life inspired the play. Can you, this is a loaded question,
Yeah.
but can you expand on exactly what those things were?
It's hard to because there's so much, literally almost everything. You can hold on to that and pass it. Sorry. I'll give one example. Caleb for me is kind of a version of me, meaning like it is me, but also like earlier me that I've gained some self-awareness around, where I get so kind of entranced by the feminine, and I kind of lose my foundation and my footing, and I can kind of like start to lose, what really is my masculine core by feeding into, the sea of feminine, and then in a way become kind of more feminine myself, which then loses that polarity. So I kind of said this thing about masculine feminine polarity. I mean, I have this kind of deeper belief that, and it's kind of like Eastern philosophy as well, a lot like the tantric and everything else. Kind of like a yin and yang, there is this, masculine energies, feminine energies. And when I say those things, they have really nothing to do with sex or identified gender at all. They're just energies that are within all of us and in nature. And so, I am actually a very feminine, male. I could be very masculine female. But what I mean is that there's a polarity, meaning that attraction, sexiness, all these things. It's when, a masculine having different qualities than a feminine, they attract each other, like opposites attract, like a yin and yang, right? And the problem is that if someone loses their core of what they are and then kind of feeds into, like the like may want someone to be like them, like a masculine may want someone to be masculine with them, a feminine may want someone to be feminine with them. When it starts to happen, then that polarity could be lost and things get a little confused and a romantic entanglement. That's the commentary I have. I'm not judging it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. But for example, that was something I noticed in myself and I showed via Caleb, if that makes sense. And again, it just my own experience into a character. No judgment, no but it did lead to a painful moment that was like kind of characterized here. For Shannon, like, I don't know, you want to say like parts of yourself?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I guess the parts of the play are that I was the muse for this show. I live a very polyamorous lifestyle, and I have a very open relationship style. And I'm just very open and honest and intentional in everything that I do, especially with my partners and even my friends. Just I want to touch everything that's around me, like, and just be, open arms. So I guess that's kind of like Cyrene's character. And of course, there are certain moments where I've felt that I've needed to really push my partners to move them forward. So I think that there are a lot of aspects of Cyrene that are written true about me.
I actually want to ask for, this is also Leanardo Hamilton, as well as Sean Amato. I want to actually ask the cast though, because I mean, I think that everyone sees aspects of themselves, and actually that's the way I direct. When I direct my characters, when I give a character to somebody, even though they may be based, like Chloe's character is very much based on me as well, but like, I tell them, well, read the character, I'll explain some of the intention and background that I felt while creating that character. But please, like, find something resonant in yourself and express that, and then that's where I try to stop directing, meaning like, I want to see what then comes out. Which means that everybody who plays these different characters are played it differently, and it's really wonderful to see. But really quick, I'll get back to you in a second, but does anyone like, did you feel anything resonant in your character that like felt like was bringing out part of yourself? You want to say it?
Sure.
Hey y'all.
So
As y'all know, Tiara, she's Gen Z like, and though I am not part of Gen Z, I do agree with a lot of things that they do and say and how their mannerisms are. So when I read for the character and I realized that she was just this outgoing, being her, manifesting life type of person, I realized that that's who I am at the core, being that I'm not Gen Z though. So I just really resonated with her and the things that she's passionate about and what she's going after in life. I know she's kind of funny up here, but how I see her is she's actually a young woman looking for someone to lead her along the path of love, of what she hasn't explored yet. And I find myself doing that as well. Not as much as her, but similar ways I find myself looking for a partner who can also lead me on the path of things that I haven't explored in love. And so Tiara, yeah, she's funny, but she's definitely still looking for love. And though it doesn't work out with Caleb, and maybe not with Phil either, it was okay. It was okay with Phil.
Nice.
But
You didn't say no once.
she's definitely just someone I think we all find a little bit of ourselves in. Either it's our younger selves or ourselves right now, just kind of along that path right now, dating and looking for themselves. So I kind of resonate with that.
Jackson, do you have something?
Yeah, I can. I was super excited to take on Chloe because a good friend of mine ended up playing her in the LA run, and so it was a cool kind of passing of a torch. I am someone something I talked to Doug a lot about is I like to make journals for the characters I play, and it's not the one on stage with me, but I had a journal for Chloe where I really went into her past relationship with this guy, and though we may not hear about it much in the show, I think this idea of like, I had a horrific experience in a past relationship, and how am I able to even approach intimacy again as a person is something that is like terrifying and something that I know that like Jackson me has dealt with. And I think there's a lot of parts of me that are very different. Like I'm a queer actress, and I think that was like a very big empathy bridge between me and Chloe, was like going through relationships like that and then being like, how do I feel like I'm starting with like training wheels, or I'm starting with baggage on me, and her hopefulness to like want to move forward and pursue this new relationship, which ends up perfectly for everyone in the end, and you know, it's really great, but she has so much hope, and that's something that I really wanted to cultivate to the role. So when I journal, I'll read it before the show, of like the past 2 years and what's gotten her to this point, and yeah, I just found a lot of love for her there, which is really cool. So thank you for cultivating that environment to do that.
Bringing it to life.
Oh, cool.
Sorry, you kept raising your hand. I want to make sure you get a chance.
You have 2 questions.
Sure.
In the 1970s, I attended workshops by Albert Ellis, Rational Emotive Therapy, and also Dr. Casriel, which is more emotional, kind of, where you shouldn't just talk, but you have to feel. It's much more important than talk. And I was wondering how much of that influenced you at all, if it did. And also the second was how rewriting the rules of love. Could you amplify on that?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so for the first question, it's interesting because I did do kind of a period, there was a period I had a bit of a quarter-life crisis myself. My very first relationship that I had in my life, I started when I was 16 and ended when I was 27. It was actually maybe the most perfect relationship I've had in my life too. I haven't had as good a one since. But the thing is that that kind of had me grow up backwards. It's like I was almost like married first and like figured out all the fundamentals. Like I figured out everything about sex, everything about like it was like growing up fast and being kind of perfectly relationship, and then I turned 27 and I realized I was actually, part of me was very depressed, meaning that I was able to do it so well because I wasn't very much in touch with my emotions. I was a little bit more robotic. I was a little bit more, because there was some trauma in high school that shielded me from my emotions. It detached me, and I became very detached. But anyway, that I was signaled to myself that I should go to get some therapy. I did extensive therapy for like 9 years. But to kind of kick it off was a lot of what I consider in the new age therapy realm, and it's a little bit what you're talking about. I don't know those names in particular, but there's a lot of movements that you're talking about. And honestly, I think it's a lot of the same stuff kind of repackaged again and again. And I'd give some like clues about it. It's like group therapy settings, you know, being able to like get into a group. It's a lot about the intimacy stuff and being able to share about your past and then be able to pull up the feelings that you were feeling when you felt the most pain, where you felt that thing that did detach you. It takes time, and it takes the support of a group, and it takes a lot of people sharing, and a lot of these things or techniques are used in things like AA and other group therapy session or environments. But it kind of gets repackaged again and again as different kind of new age groups. And I get very critical of those because a lot of times then they try to turn it into a business, and they all want to make a lot of money, and then they try to get you hooked and everything like that. I was very much the opinion where it's like, step into these spaces, find the healing you need, and then immediately step outside of the space with the support of your friends, the people you trust, and integrate those things quickly so that you don't have to keep going back into the safe space and doing it again and again. Because I'd see people trapped in those cycles, and it was very much by intention because they would want to keep making money from them. So this is that's a big like kind of tangent from, but it's very much, does that make sense though?
You also amplify or rewrite the rules of love.
Yeah. In fact, I don't know, reading Writing the Rules of Love.
I guess I can.
Yeah,
Let's have it, yeah, and then we can pass it around too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could touch on that a little bit. So, you know, I think societal norms, monogamy is a very societal norm. But I guess that in my experience, I've felt that there are just so many connections and so many ways to love. And it just really depends on, you know, who you're in a relationship with. And for you to decide for yourself what those rules are with the people that you love. So you can always, you know, you don't have to follow a certain box or live in that box. But really, you know, get deep, ask questions, get to know your partner. See what those wild fantasies are and go for them. Life is so short. So
sets the boundaries of the relationship?
yeah, I mean, the people in those relationships should be able to understand each other and have the intimacy and communication to set those boundaries. So it really differs, you know, in every relationship.
Anyone else have anything to add? Yeah.
I love the topic of love. We all have a different outlook on love, and we all been loved differently. Maybe some the same, obviously, from parents, grandparents, kids, whatever, aunties. But I say love is what you make it, just like life is. If you want good love, you'll make good love. And if you don't know what that is, you'll go look for it. Hence to what we do here. We're all looking for love. Caleb's looking for love again. Cyrene's looking for love again. So love is what you make it. And it just depends on where you're at in life, on what kind of love you want. I mean, as a teenager, you want fast, fun kind of love. And as you get a little older, a little wiser, you want that slow kind of love. Like we're now saying, I want that R&B kind of love. So it changes over time and you change with the times. But at the end of the day, it's always what you make it and what you want out of it. And then what you're willing to give to it and what you're willing to accept. Like you said, boundaries. You and your partner set those boundaries off of what your morals and what your integrity is. So there's no right answer of what love is besides your answer of what love is and how you receive it and how you can give it and what your boundaries are and what you're willing to take from it and what you're willing to give to it. So love is what you make it.
I just want to expand on that a little bit because I do have a strong thing about this, and that to me it's like I think we sometimes get trapped in definitions of traditional love and marriage, meaning like there's just things, ideas like, okay, you have to always have the other person as like the main person you're always attracted to. Like you can't be attracted to someone else, or you can't have feelings that go outside of what you agreed upon the day you met or the day that you got married or something. I think that the only thing that really changes with time is change, meaning like we all grow, we all expand, and we should, and that means that like in the context of a loving relationship, you have this incredible partner, hopefully, that is there to help you grow, is like your best friend to grow with. And I sometimes see older relationships or relationships get in conflict because they get more subscribed to the idea that things shouldn't change. We're in a certain state and we agree on it now, and then as we grow, as we change, it causes conflict. And then what happens is that someone then has to start feeling like they have to hide who they are, hide how they're feeling, and then that creates a feeling of deception from the other person. It just creates these cycles that can really cause conflict and eventually, a break, where really it's like, I think that if the two people just can decide that they're both human, that they're gonna change, but the promise to each other, it's my idea, not anyone else's, but the promise to each other could be, for example, let's be open and talk about things we're feeling as we change, as we grow. And what could happen, and it kind of happened in that first relationship I had, that first 11-year relationship. I just was honest because we had such a good relationship. It's like how I was feeling, and like how things were changing. And we decided that it wasn't probably best to stay together. And the fact of the matter is that we're still very close to this day. She's married, has 3 kids, but she's one of the closest people to my family. Even my little sister hangs out with her all the time still because she was a baby when we were growing up. Then things basically can be an evolution and not just a break. I know so many people that end relationships because this happened. So that's just me. Yes.
So why do you think that 50% of marriages end in divorce?
That's why I think it. I just explained. Yeah, that's exactly why I think that, honestly. Does anyone else have anything to share about that? No, Lee or Jackie has any, or else there's other questions for Jacksyn.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm currently in school doing this show, so it's been like a double. I'm at NYU Tisch for drama, so it's been crazy. But one of the classes I'm taking is Children of Divorce, and it's like a child psychology class. And so some majority of what we're studying, kind of something that connects to the show, is I feel like someone very important to me once told me clear is kind, and that communication obviously is the foundation of relationships. But I think when you are so socialized in gendered norms of the feminine is the submissive and the masculine is the dominant, and this is how dates work, this is who pays, and obviously when you get into queer relationships it's okay, this is no man's land, who's paying, I have been there. But I think because of that, when a partner takes on a role that is not of what is expected to them in a traditional monogamous relationship, I think things get really dicey with how the communication can be. And I think that there's a lot of stigma specifically around men expressing feelings and women being the breadwinners and all these non-conventional things that are very natural. I think that causes tension in relationships as well as financial stuff. And so also we learn that when you are a child of divorce, you learn that divorce is acceptable or inevitable, and you begin to see your relationships as something that is temporary and fragile because you don't have that stable thing to look up to. So I think there's a lot of factors in that, but hi Nicolette. That's my 2 cents as a 20-year-old that's never been in a marriage. So
I will say one more thing on that too. It's just like for me too, I don't know, at this point in my life too, I'm 47, I don't have a relationship currently, but I did not too long ago. But I don't know, I mean at this point too, I just feel like also redefining love, it's like I just love like my friends and like the people I work with creatively, and it's like in a way that's enough for me right now. I mean there's other aspects of things, but it's like that's another way to redefine love as well. Just
Can there be love in a relationship without sex?
well, that's the thing. I think that's like an agreement, right? So when we're talking about non-traditional relationships and things, I mean, if the two people decide that sex isn't important, and they decide that together, then it could be, okay, for example, like, I mean, I feel like honestly, like, Shannon and I have like we're best friends, right? We have like no sexual attraction, no sexual anything. But I feel so strongly about her as if like we are in a relationship. Meaning like, you know, I'll do anything for her, I'll protect her, I'll do whatever. But, you know, does that mean we are like, I don't know, we are something, right? We're best friends maybe, you know what I mean? But what I mean is like, we have friends that have marriages where like sex isn't an important part, but they have something and they want to keep it. And so maybe that means, but one of them really does want to have sex, so they're allowed to have sex outside of marriage. But it's an agreed upon arrangement, meaning like, it's not even an arrangement, right? It's just the nature, they write the rules of their own relationship, which we all have the right to do. You know, there shouldn't be a subscribed, I mean, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I don't know, do you want to expand on that a little bit? Just because you joined us, just because we've all got a chance to talk, and we may have to wrapping up soon, so.
Sure, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think, I fully agree with what Doug was getting at, where it's like, I definitely think that there's space for all kinds of relationships, and as long as both parties in the relationship are on the same page, and that's where like open communication kind of comes in. I'm polyamorous myself, and so that's a big talking point when it comes to my opinions. But as long as there's that constant communication and respect and continued desire to be in the relationship, then totally, you know, like you get to decide. It's up to you and your partner, or partners.
I want to add also, it actually opens up sometimes to more love and more, it's crazy. You know? I think we've experienced that. It's like, wait, I can totally like be myself and I can totally express and you accept me for that. And at the end of the day, I want to be with you because of that. You know, it's just like the most beautiful thing. Yes, Jaque, please.
Hi, I'm kind of back scrolling a little, but also blending a mix of this fine gentleman's questions up here, or whenever you identify as sir, thank you, or person, human, thank you, aloha shirt, love it. So going back on the sex in relationships thing, there was actually recently a study done that I was reading about how couples who have sex less but have higher emotional relationship or emotional compatibility lasts longer in marriages and relationships. There is that stigma again with sex, and I think Cyrene's monologue touches on a stigma with marrying a man. And she says, like, with society and the pressures to marry a man, and Caleb's like, why? But like, it's, you know, I think tying back to what you were asking about why do 50% of marriages, you know, end up in divorce, a huge one is that awakening and people realizing, you know, this isn't the life I wanted to live. This was the life my parents or my generational trauma forced me to live. The other one is also just kind of like, as weird as it sounds, but like kind of keeping yourself in a trapped mindset or a isolated mindset, right? Like a lot of people who learn to leave their towns or leave their communities and extend and expand and learn more, or leave their religion and learn a new religion, they tend to be more open to growth and opportunity. And when we stay in that same community or that same mindset for 50 years of our life, we're living that same style 50 years in a row, and it's causing more pain and more exaggeration, more cheating, more etc. So I do think, just kind of like, I wanted to just touch base on that emotional relationships have been proven to last much longer in marriages. And then also my whole thing is why marriage why marriage? Isn't it like tax forms and stuff? I don't know. Like it's a lot of money to have a wedding, and then it's like, oh, we're back at the same home again the next day. I don't know. I could just be like aged on that, but it is one of those things too. Where then tying into the polyamory folks, where I kind of wonder like, how does marriage play into that, or like, you know. Yeah, so I don't know, I just kind of wanted to touch base on like, science says emotion is like way stronger than physical connection. Yeah, and also, you know, then you go into the status of physicality and how it can become borderline rape in marriage. Rape can happen in marriages too, not just because you're married, that doesn't mean consent 100%. So, you know, you do have that kind of trauma and forced children, etc. And it can be a pressure. And that's my ramble of the night.
Yes.
I also do want to, Okay, well, I do want to say really quick too that these are just different viewpoints. The thing about this, like religion, from my perspective, like you could have anything you want. Meaning, if you do want the super traditional marriage, find that person that wants that with you and do that too. I mean, it's like, you know, we're not saying that there's a better way or anything. But yeah, you have something.
Yes.
Yeah.
This has been a great conversation, and thank you all for sharing your perspectives. I'm in a gay relationship, I identify as gay, so like, you know, my sort of take on this is probably a little different from others, just from my own experiences and like how I see myself in these situations. But I guess my question is touching on dating apps, because that was part of this, and this is your experience.
Yeah.
You know, it just makes you wonder, like, do you all feel that with technology where it is today, that it makes it easier or harder for people to find the love that they want, you know?
Okay. You've got us.
Also, I didn't get to introduce Nicolette. This is Nicolette.
Hi.
So, yes. Yeah.
Hi guys.
I live.
Personally, from my personal experience, I feel like dating apps have made it harder to find connections with people. It's a double-edged sword because you have the ability to connect with anyone in like your area, but is that genuine connections? You know, how do we make a genuine connection in this kind of modern age? I think that's kind of what the play talks about. But from my experience, like it was much harder, and I was very fortunate that I found the love of my life in college. You know, so like it works. You know, I was fortunate that she had to transfer to my college just for me to meet her. You know, I didn't have to meet her on a dating app. But before that, it was really hard to really find that genuine connection. And I don't know if anybody else has felt that or anybody else in the room has felt that. But the phone has definitely created kind of like an invisible border between people. So that's kind of like like 2 cents on the whole matter.
Per dating apps, I think it's made this hookup culture just very convenient for us youngins and some of us elders. But has it made it harder to find someone to genuinely connect with? Yes, because obviously we can all connect with several people in one day over the littlest thing. But it's like once you get back on the app, it almost becomes an addiction to go on the next day and find the next person and see what they're about, how they're living their life. What can I learn from them? What can I teach them? So it's harder, to me, it's harder to want to settle down. Whether you find that person or not that you just connect with right off top, you're like, okay, but there could be someone else out there because there's there's way more people in this world that I could possibly talk to and connect with as well, and even more. So I feel like it's made it convenient, and it's opened up a space for us to all connect much easier. But I do feel as if it's not enough of a filtration system within ourselves to know when to actually stop when we found that person. So it becomes an addiction, in my opinion. I've definitely been part of the swipe gang, swipe left, swipe right, like all that. So that's my opinion on the dating apps. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have been created, but I think that we as humans need a little bit more sense when it comes to getting on the apps and knowing what we're looking for and actually sticking to it when we find it versus wanting more and still craving more whenever we see that there's a possibility for more. So yeah.
Cool. I just want to look at time. We're like 40 minutes. I mean, we actually kind of go as long as you guys want to, but I also want to be cognizant of like, but is anything else coming up for anyone that like you want to ask or mention or anything? Or anyone else up here? Cool. Yeah.
I just want to say thank you guys so I just want to say thank you guys so much for coming and participating in this talkback.
Yeah, it's our first time doing this.
So, I just wanted to say thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All of us feel, very grateful, and thank you for your time and, and your candor. It truly was amazing.
Yeah. This is kind of intimacy in and of itself, right? So I don't know. I'm really, really feeling really good about it. So. Yeah, we're here to hang out too if you want to just hang out a little bit and then, or, head outside, whatever you want to do. Also, there's a comic for you to collect on the way out, so make sure you grab that as well. So, cool.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.